Bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello, and welcome to Millennium News TV 24/7, daily local news update. I am Todd David Goldfinger with you. Now, details this time. The young mother had behaved erratically for months, hitchhiking and wandering naked through 2 Native American reservations and a small town clustered along Northern California's rugged, lost coast. But things escalated when Emily Risling was charged with arson for igniting a fire in a cemetery. Her family hoped the case would force her into mental health and addiction services. Instead, she was released over the pleas of loved ones and a tribal police chief. The 33-year-old college graduate, an accomplished traditional dancer with ancestry from 3 area tribes, was last seen soon after walking across a bridge near a place marked End of Road, a far corner of the Yurok Reservation where the rutted pavement dissolves into thick woods. In other news, before Ahmaud Arbery was chased by 3 white men in pickup trucks and fatally shot on a residential street, the trio had expressed hostility toward Black people in text messages and social media posts riddled with racist slurs. Does that history of bigoted remarks prove that Arbery was the victim of a hate crime? A jury of 8 white people, 3 Black people, and 1 Hispanic person was hearing closing arguments from prosecutors Monday morning in U.S. District Court, where the hate crimes trial over Arbery's death began a week ago. It's been nearly 2 years since the 25-year-old Arbery fell dead from 2 shotgun blasts on February 23, 2020, after a 5-minute chase through the Satilla Shores subdivision just outside the port city of Brunswick. The slaying was captured in a graphic cell phone video that sparked outrage far beyond Georgia. Basic facts of the case aren't disputed. Father and son Greg and Travis McMichael armed themselves and chased Arbery in a pickup truck after he was spotted running past their home on a Sunday afternoon. Neighbor William Roddy Bryan joined the pursuit in his own truck and recorded the video of Travis McMichael firing the fatal shots at point-blank range. In other news, average daily COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations are continuing to fall in the U.S., an indicator that the Omicron variant's hold is weakening across the country. Total confirmed cases reported Saturday barely exceeded 100,000, a sharp downturn from around 800,850 cases 5 weeks ago on January 16th, according to Johns Hopkins University data. In New York, the number of cases went down by more than 50% over the last 2 weeks. I think what's influencing the decline, of course, is that Omicron is starting to run out of people to infect, said Dr. Thomas Russo, professor and infectious disease chief at the University of Buffalo's Jacobs School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences. COVID-19 hospitalizations are down from a national 7-day average of 146,534 cases on January 20th to 80,185 cases the week ending in February 13th, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention COVID data tracker. Public health experts say they are feeling hopeful that more declines are ahead and that the country is shifting from being in a pandemic to an endemic. That is more consistent and predictable. However, many express concern that vaccine uptick in the US has still been below expectations, concerns that are exacerbated by the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions. In other news, the third former Minneapolis police officer charged with federal civil rights violations in George Floyd's killing took the stand Monday at their trial. Thomas Lane, Tao Thao, and J. Alexander Kung are charged with violating Floyd's constitutional rights when Officer Derek Chauvin pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes. As the 46-year-old black man was handcuffed, face down on the street, Lane held Floyd's legs, Kung knelt on Floyd's back, and Tao kept bystanders back. All three officers are accused of depriving Floyd of his right to medical care. Kung and Tao are also charged with failing to intervene to stop Chauvin in a killing that triggered protests worldwide and a re-examination of racism and policing. Lane doesn't face that charge. He twice asked whether Floyd should be turned onto his side. Kung and Tao both testified earlier. Kung said he deferred to Chauvin as the senior officer on the scene. Tao said he was relying on the other three officers at the scene to care for Floyd's medical needs while he controlled the crowd and traffic. Short break from the daily English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello, and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Daily Local News Update. When three-time Olympian Gus Kenworthy took the remarkable, perhaps even brave decision to speak out against human rights atrocities while still in China at the Winter Games, the self-proclaimed loud and obnoxious British skier also proved that other athletes, had they chosen perhaps, could they have used their Olympic platform to pipe up too. Because Kenworthy wasn't hauled away and imprisoned as Chinese critics of the ruling Communist Party routinely are. Doing so would have generated exactly the sort of global focus on the Chinese government's authoritarian methods that it sought to avoid while global sports' biggest show was in town. And with the notable exceptions of Kenworthy, China largely accomplished that mission. Olympians with any qualms about chasing medals in a country accused of genocide against its Muslim Uyghur population and of other abuses kept their views on those topics to themselves for the durations of their stay. And perhaps for good reason. They faced vague, but as it turned out, undeployed Chinese threats of punishment, constant surveillance, and the sobering example of tennis star Peng Shuai's difficulties after she voiced allegations of forced sex against a Communist Party official. In other news, the last of thousands of Afghan refugees who awaited resettlement at 8 U.S. military installations departed Saturday from a base in New Jersey, completing a journey that started with the chaotic evacuations from Kabul in August. With assistance from refugee settlements organizations, Afghans evacuated after their country fell to the Taliban have been gradually leaving the military bases in recent months and starting new lives in communities throughout the United States. The U.S. admitted 76,000 Afghans as part of Operation Allies Welcome, the largest resettlement of refugees in the country in decades. It's a really important milestone in Operation Allies Welcome, but I want to stress that this mission isn't over, said Krish O'Mara Vignaraja, President and CEO of Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, one of 9 national resettlement organizations that were part of the effort. Afghans still in the country but facing danger under Taliban rule, as well as those who have made it to the United States, will still need assistance, Vignaraja said. In other news, state attorneys general and a House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol are digging deeper into the role that fake slates of electors played in Donald Trump's desperate effort to cling to power after his defeat in the 2020 presidential election. Electors in 7 battleground states signed certificates falsely stating that Trump, not Democrat Joe Biden, had won their states. They mailed those certificates to the National Archives in Congress, where they were ignored. Now, those certificates are getting a second look from lawmakers as they conduct an expansive review of the riot on January 6, 2021, and the events preceding it. More than a dozen people have been subpoenaed so far. Electors are people appointed by state parties, sometimes before the general election, to represent voters. The job is often given to current and former party officials, state lawmakers, and party activists. The winner of the state's popular vote determines which party's electors are sent to the Electoral College, which convenes in December after the election to certify the winner of the White House. There's very little guidance in the Constitution about the qualifications of electors, except that no senator, representative, or person holding federal office can be appointed to the position. After the Civil War, The 14th Amendment also specified that state officials who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States cannot serve as electors. In other news, the Biden administration has been quietly laying the groundwork to release prisoners from the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center and at least move closer to being able to shut it down. A review board that includes military and intelligence officials has now determined more than half of the 39 men held indefinitely without charge at the U.S. base in Cuba can now be safely released to their homelands or sent to another country. Decisions about several of these prisoners, including some denied under previous reviews, have come in recent weeks as the administration faced criticism from human rights groups for not doing more to close Guantanamo, releasing only a single prisoner over the past year. No. With the most recent decisions, there are now 20 prisoners deemed eligible for release or transfer, and one due to soon complete a sentence after being convicted by military commission in a plea deal. Much still must happen, such as in some cases finding countries willing to accept prisoners and impose security controls on them. But some could start to leave in the coming weeks and months. In theory, yes, but even if the US releases all 20, what to do with the rest? There are 10 still facing trial by military commission. They include 5 charged with planning and aiding the September 11th attacks. The death penalty case has been bogged down in pretrial litigation for years, and there still is no start date. One potential solution would be plea bargains to end all pending cases, but that leaves open the question of where they would serve out any sentences. Short break from the daily English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Stay tuned, stay with us.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to the news. Russian President Vladimir Putin convened top officials Monday to consider recognizing the independence of separatist regions in eastern Ukraine, a move that would ratchet up tensions with the West amid fears that the Kremlin could launch an invasion of Ukraine imminently. The public staged pre-recorded meeting of the Presidential Security Council came amid a spike in skirmishes in eastern Ukraine that Western powers believed Russia could use as a pretext for an attack on the Western-looking democracy that has defied Moscow's attempts to pull it back into its orbit. With an estimated 150,000 Russian troops massed on three sides of Ukraine, the U.S. has warned that Moscow has already decided to invade. Still, the American and Russian presidents tentatively agreed to a positive meeting in a last-ditch effort to avoid war. If Russia invades, the meeting will be off. The prospect of a face-to-face summit resuscitated hopes that diplomacy could prevent a devastating conflict, which would result in massive casualties and huge economic damage across Europe, which is heavily dependent on Russian energy. In other news, Northern Europe was battered by the third major storm in 5 days, with heavy rains and high winds on Sunday and Monday killing at least two more people, disrupting traveling and prompting hundreds of flood alerts across a region still recovering from last week's hurricane-forced winds. Storm Franklin pushed in from the North Atlantic on Sunday afternoon, even as crews worked to clear fallen trees and restore power to the thousands of customers hit by storms Dudley and Eunice last week. Heavy rains and high winds swept across Northern Ireland and Northern England before moving on to France. England's Environment Agency issued more than 300 flood warnings and alerts, and train operators urged people not to travel. In France, a couple in their 70s died Sunday after their car was swept into the English Channel near a small town in Normandy. The couple had called for help, but it did not reach them in time. With the wind, the car skidded. Hervé Bourgeon, mayor of Briec-sur-Mer, told the West France newspaper. It was pushed onto its side as it sank into the water. At least 14 people have died across Europe during a week of wild weather that meteorologists say is being fueled by an unusually strong jet stream over the North Atlantic. The storms have left hundreds of thousands of people without power and triggered local flooding and evacuations as high winds ripped the roofs off buildings. In other news, fire service rescuers expanded a search Monday inside a burning ferry anchored off the Greek island of Corfu, where 10 people remain missing. The fire on the Italian-flagged Euroferry Olympia is burning for a fourth day, but rescuers have gained more expanded access inside the 183-meter, 600-foot vessel after containing the blaze. The body of a Greek man was discovered inside the ship Sunday. A total of 281 people were rescued. They included two men who were airlifted by rescuers off the ferry, and a third man who managed to free himself and reach the deck of the vessel after being trapped for more than 2 days. Relatives of the missing passengers waited for the news outside the port authority on Corfu. Among them, the family of Greek truck driver Nikos Vikarias, a father of 3. I feel certain that my husband is alive because he is a professional. He is experienced. He knows how to look after himself. He is waiting for help. Missing driver's wife, Vanya Ekiari, told the AP, Associated Press, her voice breaking with emotion. In other news, Mount Etna has roared back to spectacular action after a few months of relative quiet, sending up a 12-kilometer, 7.5-mile high volcanic ash cloud over eastern Sicily. The lava flow from Etna, one of Europe's most active volcanoes, was centered around the crater on the mountain's southeast slope. Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology said Monday. There are no immediate reports of injuries or property damage on the inhabited towns ringing the slopes of the volcano, which is popular with hikers, skaters, and other tourists. By Monday afternoon, the lava flow from the crater had stopped, the Institute said. But earlier in the day, while the volcanic cloud was pouring out of Etna, the Institute issued a warning for aircraft in the area. The towering cloud, visible for kilometers, was the latest impressive show of Etna's power this month. Earlier in February, a particularly powerful eruption sent bolts of lightning dramatically across the sky over eastern Sicily. A short break from the daily English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 daily local news update. German officials condemned protests Monday by climate activists who blocked roads, including near the country's biggest port. Members of the group Uprising of the Last Generation glued themselves to roads in Stuttgart, Freiburg, and near the port of Hamburg to demand an end to food waste. The group argues that throwing away vast amounts of usable food contributes to hunger and climate change. Bavaria's top state security official said such blockades weren't covered by freedom of assembly. To massively impede people's mobility or block the movement of goods is a serious breach of the law, Joachim Herrmann of the conservative Christian Social Union told Germany's Funke media group. Omid Nourpour, the head of Germany's environmentalist Green Party, expressed support for peaceful protests, but said the blockades could undermine popular support for measures to tackle climate change. He also criticized the activists for threatening to step up their protests unless the government agreed to their demands by last Sunday. In other news, the island of Madagascar, off the east coast of Africa, is bracing for yet another cyclone, having already been hit by 3 major tropical storms in the last month. Cyclone Amnati is expected to make landfall on the eastern coast of Madagascar late Tuesday, amid fears it will be a stronger storm than the 3 that have left nearly 200 people dead this cyclone season. Most of those deaths have been on the Indian Ocean island, but have also died in Mozambique and Malawi on mainland Africa. Tropical storm Anna hit Madagascar in late January. The devastating cyclone Batsirai left more than 120 people dead and displaced around 143,000 on the island early this month, and destroyed buildings and roads. Cyclone Dimako made landfall just last week. A red alert has been issued for Amnati, which is moving over the Indian Ocean and currently has maximum wind speeds of 222 kilometers per hour, 138 miles per hour. According to the UN weather station on the island of Reunion, which monitors the cyclones, Amnati has been categorized as a strong cyclone and is expected to pummel the Vatomandri and the Farafangana regions in eastern Madagascar with heavy rains, storm surges, and strong winds on Tuesday night. In other news, at the height of the Cold War, U.S. President Richard Nixon flew into Communist China's center of power for a visit that over time would transform U.S.-China relations and China's position in the world in ways that were unimaginable at the time. The relationship between China and the United States was always going to be a challenge, and after half a century of ups and downs, is more fraught than ever. The Cold War is long over, but on both sides there are fears a new one could be beginning. Despite repeated Chinese disavowals, America worries that the democratic-led world that triumphed over the Soviet Union could be challenged by the authoritarian model of a powerful and still rising China. The U.S.-China relationship has always been contentious, but one of necessity, said Oriana Schuyler Mastro, a Chinese expert at Stanford University. Perhaps 50 years ago, the reasons were mainly economic. Now they're mainly in the security realm. But the relationship has never and will never be easy. Nixon landed in Beijing on a gray winter morning 50 years ago on Monday. Billboards carried slogans such as, "Down with American imperialism," part of the upheaval under the Cultural Revolution that banished intellectuals and others to the countryside and subjected many to public humiliation and brutal and even deadly attacks in the name of class struggle. Nixon's 1972 trip, which included meetings with Chairman Mao Zedong and a visit to the Great Wall, led to the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1979 and the parallel severing of formal ties with Taiwan, which the U.S. had recognized as the government of China after the Communists took power in Beijing in 1949. In other news, the U.S. and Egypt on Monday launched a joint working group to prepare for the UN Climate Change Summit being held in Egypt in November. A U.S. envoy said John Kerry, President Biden's special envoy for climate, said the group is focused on the UN's COP27 conference in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. He said Egypt, which is preparing the summit, has already begun in preparations and set ambitious goals. Kerry said other world tensions, including the ongoing Ukraine crisis, will not change the reality of what is happening every day with respect to our climate, and called the issue an international threat for us all. He said the climate issue is not about politics. There is no ideology of this. This is not anything to do with some of the issues. Concern for the U.S. administration. Kerry said at a news conference in the capital of Cairo with Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. Neither official took questions from reporters. Kerry, who also met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, was referring to conflicts in the Middle East and likely Egypt's human rights record, which has drawn criticism from the US and other Western governments. This has been the daily local news update of Millennium News TV. Log in to get the latest news. All our social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, is Millennium News 24. Also, our YouTube channel is News Channel M24. Viewers, now, both on network broadcasting, Android and iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, also all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and latest news and views. Our Millennium TV apps, Millennium TV USA Android, Millennium News, Google, www.millenniums24.com. Stay with Millennium News 24. Thank you. My name is Todd David Goldfinger. See you next time.